Close everything. Morning, good morning. Stand by. All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jared. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. I'm your host. It's Tuesday. It's my day off. Having a lot of those lately. For those of you wishing to connect, I don't normally make content that includes the words like, comment, share, because again, there is no drive in me to profit. Do you understand? Like when it comes to things that you're highly passionate about, right? Are you not seeing how exhausted Aaron Parnas is trying to profit off of this? You see a people's. There are other people that sort of like they sort of do what I do, right? Um, you would call them like a you would call me like a content creator, right? So like there are other content creators that do what I do. They may be making some good money. I make good money. It don't mean no shit. What matters is what were you doing during this time frame? Did you speak up or did you stay silent? Did you say nothing? So, ah, yeah. All of these comedians torched their careers. And I think this is relevant to point out. My wife and I, we were dating while I was a bartender at a comedy club. And after that job ended and I got a full time job, day job, um, my wife and I got into stand up comedy here in Indianapolis. And for the record, my wife is the funniest person you'll ever meet in your life. Hmm. Morning, Debs, Amanda, Stacy, Swin. Yeah. Hmm. Yep. And we did comedy competitions. Now, we didn't like travel to go on stage. That wasn't what we did. And to be completely honest with you, she would fucking carry. She's incredible. If she was like, "Hey, let's take a show on the road and just go tour around the country and do stand up," she'd rip. I have no doubt. I would honestly, probably dead ass, probably be the opener and the closer, and not do the bulk of the time and try to find who's the heavy hitter locally that's got a good amount of minutes and see if you could get them to co-lead, co-headline or headline, and then find a good regional comedian everybody loves and try to get them to actually headline. Yeah, like she struck me The first time she went on stage, I couldn't get my phone out of my pocket and record fast enough. It is important to point out that we're both stoners. But the first time she went on stage, she was already ripping for like over a minute. You know how it is? Like the first time someone goes on stage, you expect that your wife, I mean, obviously, I married the woman. I know that she's funny. But the first time you go on stage is different because if you don't just feel froggish leap, if you just don't have shit that you want to go do, right? In terms of shit you want to say, um, you're gonna get ate up by hecklers, right? My wife got heckled off rip, and she chewed them in half, and it was fucking fantastic. And everyone in the room was like, what? And it was like, oh my god, get your phone out. She can really fucking go. And I'm more here. Here's the dead ass truth. I'm more structurally funny. She's naturally funny. She's funny in a offhanded way. I'm directly. I have to intend to do it in order to be funny. She could do it and not intend to do that. Evelyn said her favorite comedian is John Leguizamo. My favorite comedian is any comedian that did not go to Riyadh. So I'm one of those people. I do not make content unless I feel like I should. I should say something. Okay. Yeah. For the record, John Leguizamo is like woke as fuck. So that's cool. Justice's waiting room. Daily live podcast is live right now on YouTube and Twitch. And appreciate you hanging out for a second while I share the show. Hashtag JWR when you talk about the show. There is about as far as I go. Hashtag live. Hashtag podcast. Free Palestine. And as always, early and often on our show, Mayflower said Josh Johnson on the Daily Show now is pretty funny. Now listen, Josh Johnson is a natural fucking comedian. Like you talk about a naturally talented human with a microphone in their hand. I have watched his evolution. He started out getting his minutes as a open micer, making taking clips and putting them on the internet. He kind of sparked a whole slew of people who built their comedy careers going and doing open mics, taking the video clips, clipping out their best pieces and posting them on the internet. I'm not shitting on him. I'm not shitting on him. I'm just saying what it is, right? Clip the fuck out of your time and use that to get to the point where he can host a daily show. Like he's deserve it. 100%. Love the dedication. hmm Bo Burnham. Yeah. Yep. The thing about Bo Burnham is a musician and comedian. You know what I mean? Like jack of all trades. I'm thinking about who my favorite comedian is. Obviously, Carlin's real easy. I love Doug Stanhope. Oh my god. One of the funniest bits I've ever heard is about his mom dying. Like when you, again, a natural comedian, Doug Stanhope. Um, Bill Hicks is a fucking great comedian. Um, George Carlin, Bill Hicks, Richard Pryor, and Eddie Murphy, two black comedians that had two of the best 60-minute specials you'll ever watch in your life. 60 minutes will fucking knock you on your ass. You don't normally, when we talk about the greatest comedians of all time in terms of like careers and shit, I do omit people who I believe have shamed themselves beyond recognition and who could never get it back. And it starts with the people who performed at the Riyadh Comedy Festival. And I wasn't probably going to say anything, but I listened to Bill Burr's coked up ass try to dance around taking accountability for this. And it just, I'm one of those people, it's very clear to me. Some things are clear to me that are not clear to other people. Uh, the Saudi royal family produced 15 of 19 of the people that committed 9/11. How are you, Pete Davidson, whose dad died in the wake of 9/11, going over there and taking money to perform? And I heard Bill Burr again try to like dance around it and say like we performed in front of 8,000 people. They were just regular Saudi citizens. Yes, there were royal members sitting in the front row making sure that we didn't talk about the stuff they didn't want us to talk about. And it's like among civil rights abuses and shit. Oh yeah, Robin Williams. Who could forget about Robin Williams, right? Jim Carrey is another one. Living and Dead there. Jim Carrey, Robin Williams. Those are were my heroes in terms of Conan's great. Conan's a gamer, and in my mind, Conan made video gaming cool before video gaming was cool. He literally was playing video games on his show. Yeah, comedians used to speak truth to power. Going and performing in Riyadh is acquiescing to it and not saying things that certain people don't want you to say is literally not speaking truth to power. So you're not doing what the sort of like it's supposed to be comedy, right? Whoopi, Billy Crystal, Robin Williams, yeah, yeah. I've appreciated Conan O'Brien kind of knowing the temperature. You know what I mean? Like I feel like one of the ways one of the ways that these other talk show figures have fucked themselves is um, either here's the way I look at this as an entity on this planet, whether you're a business or a person, you can no longer spend your money or invest in you can't invest time and you can't invest resources in anything right leaning. You cannot do that. You you will do business with someone who does not participate in politics. And it's probably for the best. Just so you know how Jared Malott really feels about it. For most people, stick your fucking neck out of it. You don't got no business in it. For most, for most. Hmm. But like I said, comedians used to speak truth to power. It's just really disappointing seeing this whole list of people that go over there and fuck it about getting a bag. I don't care about all that. I care about who paid you to go. Oh, the people who paid for 9/11. It's that simple. I don't care about anything else. All the other shit is cultural war shit. Like, do you get it? You can make it. You can't. Don't make it about something else. It is. It's about what it's about. Okay. Human rights groups are condemning you. Like, do you? It's in your face. And think about these people are the next wave of Republican talking heads because what happens to your ego when you get challenged is you want to stick up for yourself. And that's why I posted what I posted about Bill Burr. About Bill Burr literally dancing around people asking him about, like, you realize how shady it is that you performed in fucking Riyadh, and sport washing. Sports washing is what it's really called. It's where you, uh, states that commit human rights violations, um, they'll buy talent, and America exports talent. They'll buy talent. Oh, and because it takes the attention off of all the bad shit they're doing. So I want to make sure we talk about that a lot. Because there are moments like these that are going to come up that are going to remind you that it's not just politicians that will let you down. Likely Alien on Twitter. And you can find me, Jared Malat, on Facebook. All I use those sites for is to share a link to the show. I don't post content there. I don't interact. I don't intend to. Okay? Honestly, unless I see one of you. Unless one of you comment, I don't interact with you other than that. And I appreciate you all that do. Because it can feel pretty lonely with all the stuff that's going on. I just want to, again, and this is more joking. This is more joking. Okay? Do you know how I know people are paper mache? Because I don't feel invincible. In fact, I feel vulnerable. Do you get it? Like, I don't feel like I could go to Riyadh and perform in a comedy festival and not break as a human. I don't kind of care how much you pay me. Oh, it's more money than you've ever. I don't. Money don't mean shit to me. But I also want to be here, and I have no. I live and spend most of my day on the first floor of a building, so I ain't falling out of any windows. But the publisher of a famous Soviet newspaper, Pravda, falls from his death from a seventh floor window. Hmm. I wonder. Hey, so we should take bets. Does anyone wonder, is Pravda pro Russia or anti Russia? Let's see. Russian police I'm reading. Russian police are investigating the death of the latest prominent figure to fall from his death from a window. The secretive head of Pravda publishing house. Yeah, you did. Vyacheslav Leontiev. 80, he was 87. The main organ of the ruling Communist Party and continued in the role long after the collapse of the USSR. Knowledgeable about the secret fortune of the party. Strange death. Uh, uh, hmm. I think he was killed. I think he was killed because he knew too much. He knew all about this surviving communist party from the 90s. Obviously knew like names and shit. He was a journo. You know what I mean? It's only a matter of time. Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Ukraine will join EU per Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. This is a good thing. You want Ukraine to join the EU, join the UN. Uh, Vladimir Zelensky talks a lot of shit for somebody that gets his ass beat in every fight he ever takes up, ever. Unless it's pushing a 90-year-old man out of a fucking building, out of a window. You know what I mean? Yeah. Kremlin linked media mogul. Whoo. So we've been talking about this recently, so we're seeing it start to escalate, right? Ukraine disables 40% of one of Russia's largest oil refineries, processing 17 million tons annually. Um, Greed's what got us here, for sure. For sure. So I want to make sure that I say that I like condemn violence in its entirety. Um, One of the things you'll never hear me say, I hope you don't ever hear me say, is somebody should kill him, right? I hope somebody kills him. I don't ever say and mean it. Um, I've said with Donald Trump, for example, that you just got to let him die because if he gets shot or like murdered or assassinated, then he will be martyred. And keep in mind it's going to happen anyway. So understand, regardless of what happens in the next year, Donald Trump's going to die. As long as it's natural. As unnatural as their existence is. And all of the things that you want, and again, is me coming to harsh realization, and I'm hoping that you realize this as well. All the things that you want to happen to him are going to happen posthumously. And you have to settle with that now. That largely he's losing. He's a big fucking loser. And he's gonna die and shit's gonna flip on its head. Okay? And I know it doesn't sit right with people like, I want him to whatever. Um it's not healthy to to sit around and wish someone would just die. So you got to move on from that. You got to like pick another petal off the flower and chase that white rabbit. What I would settle with are the hands of justice, and just understand that it doesn't look like or sound like or taste like what you think it does. So, for example, when we read that this former head of a Kremlin backed publication fell out of a building, and you're like, why? Is it because he was 87 years old? They don't usually have the energy to get out of the window. Come on, he's old. Maybe he knew too much. Took a lot of money from the wrong people anyway, right? Ooh. You know what's crazy about drones? It turns the battlefield into like StarCraft. So Ukraine, the Ukraine is sending drones and attacking Siberia, which is like 2,000 miles away. All right. This is an important one from the Washington Examiner. Venezuela warns of a possible false flag attack on a U.S. embassy. Okay. American embassy in Caracas could be targeted in a false flag operation. National Assembly President Jorge Rodriguez said on Sunday. Three separate channels and extremist sectors of the local Venezuelan right are looking to plant explosives at their locations. Well, hey, the good news is that it's out there, right? So, we'd been talking about the flotilla. Looks like Greta Thunberg and a whole bunch of the activists that were with her were all sent back to Greece and Slovakia. Dismissed the flotilla as a publicity stunt. The deportees are the citizens of Greece, Italy, France, Ireland, Sweden, Poland, Germany, Bulgaria, Lithuania, Austria, Luxembourg, Finland, Denmark, Slovakia, Switzerland, Norway, the UK, Serbia, and the United States. Europe has essentially become irrelevant. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu tells Euronews. Jesus. US folks are still there. Awesome. Probably trying to get paid or some shit. Agree. Volodymyr Zelensky says Russians must understand the price of blackouts. It's only fair. Yeah, they got out alive. That's what's the most important thing. A lot of people are questioning the details of her capture, but all I heard was they forced Greta Thunberg to crawl and kiss an Israeli flag. And that doesn't sound like beating or torturing her. It just sounds like being kind of a dick. And otherwise, I didn't hear anything else. And all of the people survived and were deported to a couple different countries and will go to their home countries from there. And Israel's dismissing it as a publicity stunt, but we already saw what it did. It distracted the Israeli Navy enough for the local Palestinians to be able to fish and pull thousands of pounds of fish out of the water and feed. Obviously, it's not enough food. And obviously, they need to do that every day. But it doesn't look like it cost a boat or a person. And all it cost was some time on a boat. Sounds like Israel's a bunch of pussies. They could have killed journalists. They could have killed political activists. Could have killed Greta Thunberg and couldn't do it. It's because it would be considered an act of war. Alarming number of people now vape. Hey, let's talk about this, okay? About vaping, okay? Let's talk about this. My wife is in here, and she will always hold me accountable if I lie or some shit. But at, over the course of our relationship, smoking for me, it got worse. I used to count my cigarettes. Obviously, when I was on active duty, it was pretty bad. I was smoking a lot. And then, years after I came home, I'd calmed down. I think I got down to like four a day there for a while. And then it ramped up to, I don't remember, 10 years ago. Um, I got up to like a pack a day again. And somewhere in there, vaping became a thing. And I just want to point out, as someone that quit smoking cigarettes cold turkey and just said, mostly financially, can't afford to do it anymore. Vaping's worse. It's so much worse. Oh my God. Don't do that shit. Here's the primary problem with vaping as opposed to just blowing a dry plant. Okay? One of the things, and again, there are medical professionals in this uh, chat, former firefighters that will tell me if I'm wrong. But if you're trying to live a long time, meaning not fucking die, you idiot, one of the things that you want to avoid is putting moisture on your lungs. And again, tell me when I'm wrong. When you're vaping something, it's not all air. It's it's got some moisture in it. You're putting that on your lungs. It's so much worse. I coughed so much harder, more frequently. Um, you had to get into like tuning a device so that you could blow a big puff of smoke and not cough your ass off. And ultimately, it can tell you that the negative effects of smoking, things like headaches. Yeah, right. Let's not suck on batteries, okay? Yeah. I am not a fucking proponent of vaping at all. I blow trees. There are lots of ways to do that. I prefer like a small pitted bowl. You know what I mean? Um, I I don't get joy in single use anymore. About the only single use object I'm willing to like have in my life is a meal, right? Um, but yeah, let's have our conversation as a group about the the horrors of vaping. Like, I'll be dead ass. 42 years old, only ever met one fucking person that was on an oxygen tank still smoking and died. Right? Do you get all that? That was Terry. Okay? I already know like three or four people that are suffering the ongoing negative effects for having vaped that are like my age ish. Does it make sense? I'm just talking about personal experience. Like five times as many people are suffering the negative consequences of having been a vapor. as opposed to like I can think of like one person I know that like smoked until they died. Okay, so that you don't ever. I'm again in one of those things. You kind of one of those bridges you got to cross eventually. Oh, how do you feel about vaping? Don't. I did it, and the thing that I found was I found like the end of my lungs, and I was like, oh no, like I don't want to be here. Gabby said, wait, y'all don't suck on batteries? Nah, fam. That's gonna be a no for me, dog. Now, oil that you heat and smoke to get elevated, um, in small doses only as a backup. Certainly not like a all day object again. I thought it would give me a boost of energy. I like where your head's at, Gab. You might want to duck, but an alarming number of people vape. Don't. Ooh, satellite pictures show the scale of Iran's water disaster. 3 consecutive years of drought, rising temperatures, upstream dam impacts. Hey, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say stay the fuck out of Iran. Remember how I told you to drink water every day? Ukrainian intel says that North Korea supplies half of Russia's ammunition needs. Leave the batteries in your smoke detectors. If only we invested all the money we're spending on smoking cigarettes and vaping into keeping our smoke detector batteries functioning. It is true. I need to put batteries in our smoke detectors. That said, now that I say that, we do smoke flower, and that is single use. But you get what I'm saying. Like, I'd rather smoke out of a little pitted bowl than like a roll up a paper. Edibles have become popular in recent years. Has anyone tried them? Yeah, they're great. Even more intense than smoking. I've found, however, I've found that the highness, the intensity is higher, but you're not as high as for as long. My wife Taylor's made edible cookies. Hmm. You get a higher high. It's just you're not high as long. Yeah, you did bongs. CBD cookies. Yeah. Remember one of the primary reasons to even intake THC is to reduce anxiety. Hmm. Oh, Bob said edibles don't work for you. Hmm. I wish they made nutritious edibles. Hey, global renewable energy generation surpasses coal for the first time. Hey, listen, if I had to choose, so Zelensky says currently Ukraine defense industry supplies about, yeah, I would say like a higher dose. Yeah, you got to try a higher dose. You got to look at, I mean, think about this. The flour that we are currently enjoying is like 26%. Um, for most people, if it's a little bitty edible, that's like that can only be like 5 to 10 grams. You need like 200 mil to feel it. And so think about and Taylor did this. She went out of state. She got some stuff. She brought it home. Right, candy, Skittles. You can't just eat a Skittle. That's not gonna do anything. You needed like 10, 20 of those. It might have done something. Hmm. Yep. For most people, like 3/4 of a cookie is where you should be. And I'm talking like a big cookie. You probably need like 3/4 of that. Father-in-law loves on him. He has degenerate back disease. Shoot out of medicine. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yep. I just wish people didn't have to be so goddamn discreet about it. You know what I mean? Like I've basically, other than like I don't have anywhere to go, like because I do that, it's hard to like get up and go places. Crush said I use it for my stomach. You're back. Think about the conversation we're talking about, like anxiety, back pain. Uh, I use it because I have, let's just say I'm fucked up. So I can, I have anxiety, bipolar, depression, PTSD, and I'm unmedicated. So staying high allows me to stay like task oriented and get through my whole day without losing my shit. Cat said I'm a lightweight, 10 to 12 milligrams my max. You're funny. So you could have a couple Skittles. Bob said I'm always open to trying more. Yeah, I encourage you to do so. Bob, I don't know how big of a man you are. I don't know how, like your dimensions. But like if you're a bigger dude, you gotta eat more of the shit in order to feel it. Again, I don't know how big of a person you are. But yeah, you gotta understand, I'm like 6'4", 300 pounds. So it's gonna take a little more, you know. Hmm. Yep. But think about it. Weed does for me what otherwise several prescription drugs would have to manage, and to my detriment. 5'9", 200 pounds. Still, you're a couple 100 pounds, bub. That's a little bigger of a boy. Like you're gonna need to eat a little more for you. Because THC is fat soluble. So one of the things that you learn is when you're a bigger person, your body is more capable of absorbing the active ingredient. So it's gonna be harder for you to get high. Hmm. Rheumatoid arthritis. By the way, not federally legal. Only legal in like 29 states? Remember that marijuana is federally classified as a Schedule 1 substance under the Controlled Substances Act, meaning it's deemed to have a high potential for abuse. I don't even think you can abuse this shit. and it has no accepted medical use. We just spent a long time talking about all the things that it treats, right? Farm Bill, the 2018 Farm Bill, also made cannabis containing less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC hemp legal at the federal level. Most U.S. states have passed laws that allow for the medical and/or recreational use of marijuana. In 2024, the U.S. Department of Justice initiated rulemaking to reschedule cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, which would recognize some accepted medical use for the substance. And here is the DEA.gov fact sheet. Okay. Mind altering. Common street names. Let's go through some of these street names. Aunt Mary, didn't know that. BC Bud, what? Blunts, what? Boom, huh? Chronic, that's an album. Dope, that's cocaine. Gangster, huh? Ganja, I mean, grass, yes. Hash, yes. Herb, yes. Hydro, not in 20 years. Indo, 25 years. Joint. Who wrote this shit? Kif. Keef? Mary Jane. Yes. Moda. Huh? Pot. Yes. Reefer. 15, 20 years. Sinsemilla. Huh? Skunk. Smoke, weed, and yerba. Hey, did you ever wonder in just a short what is a how did you know that the war on drugs was an abject failure? First of all, first of all, most of them names we don't even call it that. Most of the names on that list I ain't ever even fucking heard. And I'm on 2 decades of smoke weed every day, all day, every day. Hmm. I wonder, do the Swedes smoke weed every day? SWEDE. Anyway, I would. Did anybody ever think about that? Hey, I'm a Swede, and it's like SWE. Smoke weed every day. Sweden. Do y'all chief or no? So 31 minutes ago, Yahoo News releases a story where Hamas demands the release of the October 7th attackers in exchange for hostages. So as you can tell, I always say I'm having a safety meeting. Hmm. Trio of physicists win Nobel Prize for revealing bizarre properties of the quantum world. A Briton, a Frenchman, and an American, all white men, got the Nobel Prize in physics. John Clark, Michelle Devereaux. Did I fuck that up? Was one of them a woman? No, they're all men. So that's Michael Devereaux and John Martinez. Will share the prize. Quantum mechanics, which describes how matter and energy behaves at or below the scale of an atom, allows a particle to pass straight through a barrier in a process called tunneling. Uh-huh. I learned about this in college. Werner Heisenberg, 1925. So, after 100 years of research, a trio of physicists get a Nobel Peace Prize. Looks like October 6th, yesterday. CBS News was on board as Chinese jets intercept the Canadian Air Force plane tracking North Korean ships. Squint, Squint said, well, between prescription drugs have side effects that include tuberculosis, cancer, stroke, kidney failure, a litany of other horrible things. I'll take weed any day. Absolutely. Mhm. When I got hurt when I was on active duty, I got a whole bunch of scripts and I took them to the mental hospital because my battle buddy RJ Rady, he stayed in the mental hospital for a while, so I went and stayed with him for a few days because I was on a bunch of meds and I didn't. Who want to be by yourself and you're all doped up and shit. Um, Plus, they gave you grippy socks. But they took on my medication and they said you can't take it all, you'll die. So first of all, between going and seeing like 3 or 4 doctors who aren't communicating and sharing the drugs that you're already on, by the time I got all them drugs and brought them back to base and got them into a doctor's hands so he could take a look at those line of prescription drugs, I think I had 13, and say, yeah, you can't take all those, you'll die. You only probably want to take this, 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 and this. So these other 9, you're not even taking these. Like, get rid of those. You don't need those. And then I had all of the wrong side effects, the reactions to those handful of medications I took. And I asked because I was struggling to manage pain. Still manage pain every day. Hey, how do people normally manage this? They take all them drugs until they can't get it, and then they lose their mind and die. That's how it goes usually, Jared. Like, oh, hmm. Someone's gonna be a super upset on that one. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So yeah, the docs just told me, what do people normally do when they have like chronic pain, Jared? Like they pill themselves to death? Like what the fuck do you mean? And I was just like, oh, I'm not dying that way. Not on this playthrough. Then they were like, you're braver than I am. I'm like, okay. Like, not dying that way. Now, that's not to say I didn't drink my ass off when I came home, but you gotta understand, they were gonna amputate my arm. To get home and have both your arms, a pocket full of money, you know what I mean? Like, give me the fuck away from that. They're trying to rip my arm off my body and give me a fake arm so they could fucking use me and shit. He said, or you become president. You know what's funny? Uh, I don't think I've ever talked about this. When I was on active duty, one time before we went to the range, we had a whole fucking work day. And then you want to talk about not doing shit? Talk about your tax dollars, by the way, paid for my unit to get pizza delivered while we sat outside the fucking armory. Just sat there all day. We got pizza delivered twice. We everybody took turns, went and ate breakfast at Chow Hall. Came back and we sat in front of this fucking. They never showed up the whole fucking day. We were where we were supposed to be. The armorers did not show up to get us our weapons. We tried to communicate. Nobody wanted to communicate. We spent our whole day sitting in the shade out in front of an armory under these little lean-tos that they build so you could clean your weapon, right? And we're all sitting around, and of course, like I'm gonna try to sit in a chair like a normal person. I ain't sitting on the ground. I ain't leaning up against some shit. And nobody asked me to move, and all the senior Marines like sat, all the junior Marines are sitting, and I was just being myself, just sitting in a chair, just kind of biding our time. And my staff sergeant was like, "Hey, Malat, well, you went to Purdue, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I went to Purdue High School." And then guys just started like asking questions about military versus civilian world versus um, like being on active duty in the military. And I just iterated to them that like uh, comparatively, college and the military, in my eyes, you have to have a level of discipline necessary to be successful in those environments that you don't have to have outside of those environments. Um, you have to figure out how to like get along with other people that aren't from the same place that you're from, that don't have the same habits and hobbies and likes and dislikes that you have, and get along with like other people. And you don't necessarily have to do all that shit when you're like in high school. And I remember through that conversation, and these are, couple hundred guys that I served with. And it's not like they were all wet behind the ears. Some of them guys had been to college and got back on active duty, but they went to like the University of Tennessee or some shit. They went to a different college. Um, so obviously a lot of questions about the Midwest and the Big Ten, right? Because most of the kids I served with were from one of the East Coast states. I was When you join the military in Indiana, or I joined the Marine Corps in Indiana, normally you go to Hollywood, you go to San Diego, which is funny because that's where my dad was stationed in the Navy, was a 13 mile pier in San Diego, right? But at the end of this little like Q&A where they, I would say 30 45 minutes, guys were just like, are the girls prettier in the civilian world or at college, right? We were young, right? And at the end of it, my staff sergeant put his arm around me and he was like, Malat, President of the United States. He was like, there are kids from all over the fucking country with all ranges of life experiences, like sitting and asking you questions. You just answer them, blow straight through it, didn't even blink a fucking eye. And he's like, do you know how many people would have been like shelled up or not been able to talk about shit, right? For afraid they did something fucking wrong or illegal, they're gonna say something wrong or somebody's gonna judge them, especially with like your entire fucking leadership group sitting to your left. Uh, my favorite thing to tell people is that if I would have worked harder, I could have just played football at Purdue. I was friends with like guys on the team and like was generally well received by the football program at Purdue. And instead, I played because I'm a stoner. I I played club volleyball, and we won the Big Ten. We played a full Big Ten schedule and traveled in a bus, just like the football team does. Had uniforms. Parents were super proud of the kids when we won and shit. Yeah, and I joined the ski and snowboard club and got to go to Salt Lake City and Colorado to go ski and snowboard with kids from all over the country. It's almost like I was a Big Ten wrestler, but because they have a Big Ten meet where the entire Big Ten comes together. It was like being a Big Ten wrestler and being at the Big Ten Wrestling Championship, except everybody decided to just say fuck it and go snowboarding for 4 days, right? Why? Because the Big Ten Championship was going on while we were on our ski or snowboard club, and I thought about, I played football and basketball, and I wrestled, and I played baseball in high school, and then I got to college and played volleyball and was on the ski and snowboard team. You know what I mean? And so when you kind of are able to say like intent, reality, right? Like speak on being a civilian, right? And just not being in a college anymore, and how expensive it is to live, right? That was one of the conversations I remember having with kids, is talking about, I lived in a pretty decent apartment and my rent doubled. When I signed that lease, it was 485, and I lived there for 1 year. And when I went to go re-sign the lease, it was at 1105. This was in 2005. I could afford $485 a month. Think about this. In 2025, my mortgage is 1500. Do you get it now? Like, that'll force anyone to sign up for the service. Mhm. I really wonder why they have such a problem with vaccines. Do they lose out on not having people don't get sick if they vaccinate for certain things? Um, I want to say it's because they're not receiving money from big pharma. Obviously, the people that are pushing for the cost of drugs to get bigger. I mean, the thing that won't make any sense is any of this, because the man in charge has the brain of a fourth grader. Okay, so remember, a lot of people are gonna have a problem with this regime because the media has enabled Donald Trump's mania, right? Um, so remember that a lot of this shit is not going to make sense, right? Like RFK Jr.'s stance on vaccines and like all this shit. I would have a real hard time taking medical advice from a heroin addict. Period. Like, and that's where that ends, right? I'm dismissing everything he says. hmm Burbank Airport, Hollywood Burbank will have no air traffic controllers unmid for hours amid government shutdown. I really think they completely thought their hate all the way through. Not at all. Think about this: if people can't afford your medication, are you still getting paid for it? This is a dangerous game to play with medications and vaccines and shit. Right. Companies bid less than a penny per ton in biggest U.S. coal sale in over a decade. And Navajo tried bid $186,000 to lease 167 million tons of coal on federal lands, 1/10 of a penny per ton. It was the only bid received. He, RFK himself said don't take medical advice from him. Yeah, it's wild. CDC drops universal COVID vaccine recommendations. That sounds like to me we should be getting a COVID vaccine. Illinois suing the Trump administration. So I made that video. This first thing I talked about this morning. The cost of health insurance is going to skyrocket. I don't know how people will afford their health care and their meds exactly. All right, yesterday, about an hour after the show ended, all this shit with Ghislaine Maxwell took off. Oh, and hey, I don't say it often enough, but I'm figuring out how to say it. If you have 10 or more $1,000 in unsecured debt, this is credit cards, personal loans, payday loans, lines of credit in excess of $10,000 personally. Frequently, I enroll whole households into this program. Your minimum payments are about 80% interest. So let's say you're paying $1,000 a month on your credit cards, $800 of that's interest. And there's higher interest and fees on overpayments. So all of you that love to brag to me about how much you pay over the minimums, you are just paying higher interest and fees on that overpayment. You could stop supporting your creditors who gamble with your money while you sleep. Stop paying interest, cut your payments in half, and get out of debt in the next few years. You need to give me a call. You can message me anywhere. hmm it's illegal. So, Gabby asked, "What happens if we choose not to get medical insurance anymore?" Hypothetically speaking, you get penalized. hmm Yeah, can't fly out of Burbank. Yeah. Yesterday, the Supreme Court rejected Ghislaine Maxwell's bid or her appeal, and then Donald Trump spoke on potentially pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. I just haven't said how I feel about that. Uh, Horrific, of course, even thinking about pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, but totally something Donald Trump would do. hmm Your credit card companies, your banks, they gamble on the very companies that funded this regime while you sleep. Oh, hey, the National Weather Service confirmed that that tornado in North Dakota in June was actually an EF5 with 210 miles per hour sustained winds. Plane carrying deportees from the U.S. arrives in African nation of Eswatini, a group of 10 migrants. By the way, when Americans go move to other countries, we're called expats. When people leave their country and come to the United States, they're called an immigrant. Yeah, use goods Unitas. They penalize you for not having health care. Oh, yeah. Let's Google what is the minimum penalty for not having health care in the United States. So the actual federal exemption expired in 2019. You no longer pay a tax penalty for not having health coverage. If you don't have health coverage, you don't need an exemption. So there's no penalty. You used to. It stopped in 2019. I googled it and corrected myself. They used to get penalized on your taxes. I can't really afford it. You can't afford it now. I'm not trying to be a dick. You're already at that part. If you're even thinking about it, in my eyes, it's fucking scary, man. Pay a couple $1,000s a month for healthcare or live. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm a disabled veteran, so I don't have healthcare, and my exemption exists. But that's a great fucking question, Gab. By the way, this happened in my city over the weekend. Mark Sanchez. I have VA. Others should have basic health as well. Yeah. Um, I can't advise everyone, but I am a proponent of being able to choose your healthcare plan and not just taking whatever your employer gives you, because frequently the healthcare that your employer offers is not the healthcare plan for you. And so healthcare.gov is the best place to get information. And figure out if there's like low cost healthcare available to you. Mhm. You know, when I was a little kid, people used to save to retire, and now I just think about saving until you have a medical disaster. The American dream is to survive. Mark Sanchez is now facing a felony charge for an altercation he had in Indianapolis. Here's what I think happened. On Saturday night, Mark Sanchez, who is in town, going to be calling the game on Sunday, got into an altercation, ultimately with a delivery driver. Uh, Tried to open the guy's car door and reach into the vehicle, got pepper sprayed, didn't stop, got stabbed twice, and had to go to the hospital. And when he got treated and released, he got arrested for for he's the problem. He reeked of alcohol. He was trying to reach into someone's car. Obviously, he's probably being fucking heckled, right? They were fighting over a parking spot. Pepper sprayed and stabbed. Deserved every bit of it. Type 1 diabetic. He needs health insurance to afford his meds. Plus, if he gets the flu, he always ends up in ICU every single time. Oh, it sucks. I'm so sorry. Venezuela denounces alleged extremist plan to attack shuttered U.S. embassy complex. Venezuela warned Monday of an alleged plan by extremists to attack a shuttered U.S. embassy complex in Caracas with explosives, coming as bilateral tensions simmer. So understand, this is the false flag that they were warning about. Everybody that was like, hey, what do they mean? Right there. A false flag operation prepared by extremist sectors of the local right. ICC convicts the militia leader of atrocities in Darfur more than 20 years ago. In The Hague. When we say justice's waiting room, 20 fucking years ago. Alright, Madagascar has named their military general as their new prime minister. Stop me if you've heard this before. Andry Reholina named Rufin Fortunat Zafasambo general in the military. It's new president of Madagascar. Uh huh. Some of the dumbest shit I'll ever say out loud. The Supreme Court is going to examine Colorado's ban on conversion therapy. Type 1 diabetes is no joke. It affects your circulatory nervous system as well as digestive system and your skin. Oh man. Infrastructure investor. Brookfield Asset Management has achieved financial closing for its second energy transition fund, raising $20 billion from existing and new investors. Yeah, yeah, 100% squint. We were talking a long form about cigarettes today, right? Balloons carrying smuggled cigarettes over Lithuania closed Vilnius airport for hours. 25 small hot air balloons, some of them confirmed to be carrying smuggled cigarettes. All right, so Zach Bryan decided to criticize ICE. Bryan is a Grammy Award winning singer and a U.S. Navy veteran. Moody's warns that America saw essentially no job growth last month. Hey, uh, I am anti a lot of things. I'm Antifa, apparently. I'm anti suicide. Okay, I will speak out against it not being a good answer to your problems. Um, persist. Um, I say that to say the gun industry. Yeah, no brainer when you love somebody. The gun industry had a program to reduce suicide and it failed. Um, and it failed and it was shut down early. But here I'll tell you, as someone who just likes the numbers, and I can read numbers and I can make a decision based on numbers. And I did a lot of research about firearms and firearm deaths, specifically in the United States. And over the years, and I don't just mean 1 year, I mean, over the years, this has continued to ring true. Over the course of time, this keeps repeating itself over and over and over again every fucking year. When you look at gun deaths, most gun deaths are self inflicted with a pistol. If you want to reduce suicide, you need to enact stricter gun control, particularly as it refers to handguns and like the M16s, the uh, the assault rifle. Hmm. Because most people blow their brains out with a pistol. That's what those numbers mean. You're you're about 60%. For those of you that are like, no, it's actually not close. um, so if you ever wondered why the NRA had a program to curb suicide among gun owners and it failed and it was shut down early, I'm willing to bet it wasn't trying to tell people that you can't hit shit with a pistol anyway, you weak armed person. Gabby said, "Happy anniversary. Just celebrated 20 years. Been together 27 years." Squint celebrated our 27th wedding anniversary. Good luck. Look at you all. Scott Bessent enables oligarchy from the American Prospect. Did I tell you all that I wanted to start a clothing brand called DFKY? Don't fucking kill yourself. It's stupid. Hmm. I can kind of see things happening. It's very hard to explain where I'm like, things are happening that we are not privy to, that we don't have all the information on, and it's happening right in front of our faces. And I'm not saying it's bad. Read the story. Stacy said 56 years young today. Okay, so how old's everybody? I'm 42. How old's everybody else? Stacy's 56. My wife is probably the youngest person. She's like 36. 38. I lied. Mike's 54. Gabby said I heard Travis Kelsey is suing Kai Trump for stealing his trademark. Fuck yes! Evelyn's same age. Well, you're a dead giveaway because your shit says 83. Gabby's 44, same age. Beck's 65. Mike said too old. Squint's 57. So yo, AOC yesterday talked helly shit on Stephen Miller. Like she's never seen this dude. She swear to God, he's 4'10". He acts like he's 4'10". He's a fucking gremlin. Like she talked helly shit on him. They played a clip of her roasting him on live TV. hmm Government shutdown is an unmistakable command to obey or face the consequences. Bob's 45. ICE is using spyware to threaten Americans' movement and freedom of speech. Paragon is what it's called. Yeah. Party time, Travis. But yeah, happy anniversary, Squint. Happy birthday, Stacy. Let me check the weather for us. I don't know if we started with war. Let's end it. Debs is 62. Here's some war. Some eat the rich. And then we'll check the weather and get out of here. Wake up, kids! Wake up, kid! It's half past. You ain't never been changing but the dates. You ran slammer, but you know bad boys never lie. I'm swinging from the Friday gate. I got all my answers, and lo and behold, you got the right key, baby, with the wrong key. Oh, yo. Oh, and let me finish with this thought too. The same reason that people take money from APAC and Russia is the same reason that they go perform that comedians went and performed in Riyadh, and that is uh, when you become an elected official or you become like a stand-up comedian, a touring stand-up comedian, a stateside touring comedian, a million. There's not a lot. There's not a lot. You need to be a global comedian in order to make really good money. hmm Yeah, that happened yesterday. He has to have grounds for that. He doesn't have any grounds to do that, so he can't do that. He'll have to pressure Congress. It'll be a whole thing. Um, but yeah, what was I talking about? The same reason that people go perform in Riyadh is the same reason that people take money from APAC and take money from Russia. The difference between taking money from APAC and taking money from Russia is that Israel's our ally. They're fucked up, but militarily they're our ally. It's clearly a genocide. Bibi's clearly going to fucking hell, and the ICC's got his ass. If he leaves, he has to ask for permission to go to a funeral. That's the kind of life that Bibi got, right? Um, but the reason that people take money from APAC and take money from Russia and go perform in Riyadh is greed. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. It's not for any other reason. It's for money. They got something out of it. They got immediate dopamine hit. Before they ever went on stage, they got paid. Right? Okay?
What if you were prepared for all those interviews?
Yalbot. Let's check the weather.
Here's the latest on the coastal flood advisory for.
Alright, first things first, it looks like up and down weather intensity score means that the weather's kind of goofy. Yeah, all about the Benjamins, yeah. The reason that people take money from APAC is because they're corruptible and they can be bought and their morals can be changed for a dollar. You know? What happened to being principled? What happened to having like a moral or ethical line that you are not willing to cross? I'll never understand. Yeah, they sold their fucking souls. And we got to get those people out of politics and we got to make sure that we don't support those people. There is zero, there are no good reasons, no good reasons to take money from APAC, to take money from Russia, or to have performed in that Riyadh Comedy Festival. And we can keep going. hmm There's no good reason to have done all of that shit. hmm Now, let's take a look at the weather. Holy shit. Massive storm system in the middle of fucking New Mexico. Okay? Excessive fucking rainfall, like 15% likelihood in the center of New Mexico. It's the oddest shit ever, right? Now, there is what appears to be. Holy fucking shit. Alright, this is the most we're gonna talk about weather, okay? In the very northwest part of the country, you have pretty significant fire risk. In Washington, that looks like southwest Oregon, northwest California, western Montana, and northern Idaho. Pretty significant fire risk. Now, that would be Wyoming and North Dakota and Minnesota. That looks like a freeze warning. I believe that's what purple is. And blue is, I want to say wind and freezing and stuff is going on in like the northern half of the country, okay? Now, there's a system in like I said, there's a system in New Mexico. Looks like there's rain dotted all over northwest Texas, west Oklahoma, and then there's a big old storm system in southeast Kansas that's going to enter western central Missouri, and it looks like it's going like northeast. So this is going from like Topeka, Kansas to Chicago. It's actually the other way, but whatever. Okay. There is a major storm system encompassing Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, Virginia, New York, Pennsylvania. It's up into Canada. Okay, this thing, there's literally rain coast to coast, right? From New Mexico up into Quebec. Okay. Now, the concentration of this line is in southern Indiana and Kentucky. And it's a lot. It looks like a lot of rain. And if my voice is cracking, it's because that's where my family's from. People that voted for Donald Trump. People who don't understand what's going to happen when their fucking house gets destroyed here. And that's nothing. And there's nothing I can do about this. Major storm system, southern Indiana and Kentucky. There's also a storm system in central Illinois, Chicago, northern Indiana, moving up into Michigan, over, like I said, in northern part of the United States. But there's a major storm system, southern Indiana and Kentucky, and into Tennessee. Flood, flood, flood. If not flood, fire. Like, just make sure you don't be unaware, right? Stay safe. We'll talk soon. See you tomorrow at the least.